2 a little bit more into the equation. Also, Richard says we're closer to the end of the bear than the beginning. So if that gives anyone comfort, well, that was pretty cool. He said that today. Yeah. So I think that so we're syncing the blockchain. So the last screenshots in the last week or two have been pictures of syncing I think it's consensus client, maybe the execution client too, but syncing parts of the blockchain from the clients that we forked. So logically speaking, if we're syncing the clients, that means we're running the code. And if we're running the code, it's either done, we're testing it, or very close. So if everyone out there is like, oh, delay on the code, was the code ready? We're syncing the blockchain, and you usually do that before you deploy something. So 1 + 1 things seem to be close. However, Richard did say, I don't know if you caught it earlier too, but it was like, right in the middle of it, he was like, the guy asked him how long, and he said weeks, and then he said 1 to 3 weeks, and I was like, oh God, if he would have said this week, I would have multiplied it by like four or something, because if he says 6 months, maybe it's 2 years. So if he says 1 to 3 weeks, I'm like 4 to 12 weeks, just by the old math. Now the FOMO new math everyone wants to hear is anytime it's close, like next week, right? But again, the code, a lot of it seems to be ready. That's the back end part, the clients. The front end, we've seen pictures of it. They forked beaconchain.in. I looked at that. I talked about that on the stream a little while back. That looks great. Just slap the UI on it. Richard mentioned a whole bunch of other technical details, but as far as how close we are, we're syncing the blockchain. It seems closer than we've been before.
Well, yeah, and judging by the screenshot that was posted, if you do the quick math on the percentage, that when that screenshot was taken 3 days ago, the blockchain syncing percentage was 42% complete. So, if you consider maybe the time that it said it started to sync to the current time that tweet was posted, and if it's assuming a linear rate of increase on the percentages, the blockchain should be synced by now. It should be synced by now, and it's probably just undergoing, if I had to guess, some final stage testing. Real quick, one person asked, what is testnet version 3? If you don't know what we're talking about, let me explain, because it's kind of important to understand. So in the timeline of PulseChain, right, when we're looking at when is this thing going to launch, you have to launch a couple of test nets. Any good developer will launch a test network where nothing is real, but it behaves exactly like the regular blockchain. So you can see on the UI, you can interact with it, you can play around, and most importantly, you can test it from every different angle, and you can unleash it on the public, which is what we have today. We have a public test net called V2B, where that's been out for many months now. So obviously that's proof of that is doing something. But PulseChain testnet V3 is moving on to the testnet version that is now utilizing the fork of ETH 2.0. See, testnet version 2 was using basically a forked copy of Binance Smart Chain. So testnet V3 is a very big deal. Somebody in the chat says it's the final boss before you get to, and I agree with that. It's basically the last stage in development, because this is when and they don't even have to release a public testnet, but I do believe they probably will, just to get everybody excited. And also to unleash it on the public is a different kind of testing. The public has a tendency to break stuff that the developer has never even thought of. So when they release testnet V3 after a certain amount of time, however many months that will be, it'll give us time to, all of us as a community, test out the new blockchain, report any bugs if there are any, get hyped, get excited, hex number go up pretty clearly. Obviously no crystal ball, but pretty sure the hex price is going to pump. And on top of that, we just have clear indication that PulseChain launch is a matter of months away, just very, very few. And so I do still think PulseChain is going to launch this year. Whether it's Q3 or Q4, I don't know, but the PulseChain testnet is going to reinvigorate the hope in everybody. And the screenshot that we saw leads me to believe that it already kind of exists. Maybe it already did exist. Developers were already working on a previous version. They're syncing it up again. Richard did mention they were changing basically the digits for Lighthouse and what was it? Yeah. Aragon.
Well, Prism. Yeah. There's the 4 different clients, but I was going to say that's one thing I was actually concerned. That's the only concern I have is that that's still an ongoing thing. They need to figure out the integer slot issue. Richard says it different every time. And actually, Dipcatcher and I had a conversation about it too, where he was like, "Yeah, here's one way to fix it. Just make the supply lower, or the same, or something like that." But I don't think that's going to happen because we all know RH likes high supply. That's good for public minerals. But that's the only thing I'm a little concerned about. Okay, that's the only thing that we don't know that's fixed yet. And I'm not saying it's hard to fix, but that's the only issue where I'm like, everything's synced, ready to go, except we do need to work on the supply thing. That seems to be the only unresolved issue I've heard so far.
But I did realize that the fixing the digits previously in one of Richard's videos a couple weeks ago was that they were fixing the digits on Geth and Prism. Now that they're adding in the later two, Lighthouse and Aragon, he in the most previous video he said, which mind you was from 2 weeks ago, because that video took place in a live stream in which they watched the DOJ takedown of BitZaloo, which some Russian exchange. So we can actually date that conversation happened 12 days ago, if we want to be precise about it. So it means that they've moved on from fixing the whole digit and integer problem on not only Geth and Prism, but now on the copies of Lighthouse and Aragon. So they're really in the final stages of the final stages. And that's as easy of a way I can explain it from the technical background. Remember, guys, Geth is to Aragon as Prism is to Lighthouse. Geth is the system state. Prism is the consensus. That's all you need to know. Now you can sound smart in front of all your friends. It'll be great. And shout out to Marco for the nice little verse he wrote me there. He's spitting bars down there for me.
I like that.
Yeah.
I was going to say, do we want to keep it positive and hopium, or should I throw any other concerning things out there?
Well, I mean, if you've got concerns, I think that's totally valid. I mean, if you've got concerns.
I mean, the integer thing, hopefully it's fixed, or like I said, that is good data that he's been talking about it for a while. So hey, maybe it's already fixed. Only other thing I would throw out is, what if there's a V4? And I'll say that, everyone in the chat, don't kill me, but I think that we had testnet V1 and then V2B, I believe was a public one. So we had two for the previous chain. And I know everyone wants to launch. I know, I think RH wants to launch. I understand all that, and he's even today, actually, he said probably V3, which he left it open for mainnet, which I thought was okay. I just cannot go to that planet. I can't go to that planet. I'm not going to go there. I'm not going to stress myself out for that. I'm going to be, oh my God, it's going to launch. I'm going to have all my coins. Yeah. But he did leave the door open, which I don't know why, but he did. But still, V4 would be two versions before a new chain launched that was forked. And I know we did all the work. I know it's not all wasted on the previous one, but still, I'm just throwing out there. I don't think it'll happen, but it is possible that we have a quick V4. That was the plan for before. It was like a quick V3 or a quick V2 or whatever it was. So I'm just saying it's possible. So don't be too super hyped. But anyways, I don't want to kill everyone's spirit, but I thought it was worth mentioning.